This video contains spoilers for Star Wars Rebels Season 3, Episode Twin Suns. It's very rare that you ever see an action scene that has so little movement in it that is somehow better than any of the massive action that you see in all sorts of shows. As many of you will know, Samurai Jack Season 5 recently premiered with its phenomenal action, its phenomenal set pieces, just the way everything moves, everything is just amazing there. And yet, despite how much I enjoy that, there is just something that I cannot explain that attracts me to the duel that takes place in Twin Suns. This duel is finished in 3 moves, as anyone who's watching this video that actually saw the episode would know. And it is some of the most thought out, well done and well executed action I've ever seen. This fight has references in it to episode 1 of Star Wars. The move that Maul uses when he's going after Obi-Wan, when Obi-Wan slices his saber in half, is the exact same move Qui-Gon Jinn used in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And the stance he takes is Qui-Gon's. It's just seeing this thing, I was kind of baffled because I didn't notice it at first. I actually didn't notice. The first time I watched this, I was like, that's not as great as I thought it would be. But when I rewatched the episode for my notes, I was kind of taken aback because I actually noticed it, and I actually had to go look up a clip, and they must use this as a reference because it is so close. It is almost uncanny. It's one of the best action pieces I've ever seen done. And that is just one part of this episode. That is just one minuscule part of this entire episode. Twin Suns is quite possibly one of my favorite episodes of Star Wars Rebels. I'm not even joking. Actually, you know what? Star Wars Rebels might be one of my favorite TV shows. Just what they're willing to take advantage of, what they're willing to do in this show is fantastic. They don't do what the audience wants to see. They do what's appropriate for the characters. We want to see the action like in Samurai Jack, but that action has its own place. That action has its own meaning. Samurai Jack does this really well, but there's something about the action in Rebels that is... It's so quick. There's so much thought put behind it. Like in Samurai Jack, I remember the premiere of season 5. He's just destroying these countless robots, and you just show it because it's just to show who Jack is and what he's able to overcome because he's in a very different situation. And if they had done that kind of action here, it wouldn't have fit very well. Like if they had just some big action set piece, I probably wouldn't have liked this episode as much. But seeing as anyone who's watched Star Wars knows that in episode 4, Alec Guinness doesn't move very fast. So actually having this fight be very quick is both faithful to that, faithful to the character, and it gives this beautifully simple end to the story. It's simple. It's so... I don't know how to say it. It reminds me actually of Samurai Jack, of when Jack fights Aku in the very first premiere movie in episode 3, when you have he's using these quick, swift movements. It's very much like that. It's very much like it's very much samurai. That's the easiest way I can describe this. This action scene is so quick. It's so fluid. It doesn't take long to do. It's like when Jack's just kicking Aku's butt in the beginning of Samurai Jack. And what I hope happens in the finale is something very quick, simple, and well done like this, or something that makes sense in context. I don't know if this kind of fight would work in Samurai Jack, since it's very different kind of show. But the way they handled this, it's absolutely worth it. Like, at first I was a little thrown off by this, but man, Star Wars Rebels, you continue to amaze me every time I come into an episode. I think that something's going to happen one way, but it goes the other way. And the amount of references in this one, they're so subtle, you don't pick them out. You actually have to know the expanded universe. And if you don't, it still is awesome. Like when Kenobi actually calls Maul an old wound, that's referencing the fact that in this original comic, in the Visionaries comic, that was what it was called. It was called Old Wounds. And you had this fight between Kenobi and Maul. So having that worded that way, it makes it so. Oh, it just feeds into my geekiness. But if you didn't know that, you would still think it was a cool way to describe Maul, referring to him as an old wound, like a scar, like something that should have been finished a long time ago. And oh my, it's just, oh, I need to stop geeking out over that one moment, or I'm just gonna start repeating myself, because it is that good. It comes to such a beautiful end. But is that all there is to love about this episode? Is that all it is? And the answer to that is no. The emotion, the way they tie Ezra into this, it doesn't feel like they just did this to have Maul versus Kenobi. They did it because they wanted to do it, because it fit into the story, and it connects to what the overarching plot is. And you get foreshadowing at the end. The credits of this episode are amazing. I almost teared up at the end, and I'm not embarrassed to say that. It was just hearing, I'm pretty sure that was dialogue stripped from episode 4, just hearing that said and knowing what it is out there, and the poses they give to Obi-Wan are so much a mixture of Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor. It's I need to stop talking about it. I need to move on to things, but everyone knows that was the main event of this episode, was the way that Maul and Kenobi were going to show up. And it's so much more than that. I'm so happy that this show is able to take all its advertisement and still show you nothing. We thought like it was going to give us this grand showdown, and most of the episodes spent wandering through the desert, which just shows how bleak, big, and vast Tatooine is. It's also gorgeous. This like almost monochrome landscape, they make it look absolutely stunning. And some of the like when they're just walking through this rocky area, you get like these colors in the sand. The sandstone has all this mixture on it, and all this color blending, and it's just so pretty to look at. And it's a desert. Like, it's a desert, and it looks so gorgeous. Oh, and just seeing some things in animation we haven't seen before, like Tusken Raiders in animation, that was amazing. Just seeing the way they incorporated them in. And I liked how it's left ambiguous. They don't explain everything. Like, he finds the holocron piece right near where these Tusken Raiders ambush him, and it makes you wonder, is this a trap set by Maul? Is this just they happen to be there? Because it talks to him just before this happened, but then Maul saves him, so was it just to destroy his ship and make him wander out into the desert hopelessly? I think it was, because he's using Ezra to draw Obi-Wan out, which ties Ezra into this entire episode. Because if that wasn't in here, and it was just Maul finds Obi-Wan, it wouldn't work as well. And I like how these pieces of the holocron, how they use it kind of like a compass. It's something I never would have thought to use the holocron for, but when they do use it, I have no complaints. It looks Star Wars. That's the only way I can put this. And I may as well just start from the beginning of this episode, kind of go through it bit by bit. At the end, I'm just too excited. At the beginning, when Maul's wandering through the desert, and he's just like talking to himself, and this rambling it's insane. You can't look away. And that yell he gives off, I just noticed that yell is in the mid-season trailer for Star Wars Rebels. I never noticed that before. I just kind of heard it and I went back and watched the mid-season trailer after to kind of pick out what scenes were going to be for 0 Hour at the end of the season, because I'm trying to piece together what's happening there, because I'm a dweeb and I want to know exactly what's going to happen. I'm kind of trying to avoid other trailers though, because I know that leaks will start coming out soon, and I know that I had to avoid spoilers for this heavily. Unfortunately, Samurai Jack Season 5 isn't as subtle. I already got spoiled for something by looking through my homepage on YouTube. Someone just put a spoiler flat out in the front of a video. And I don't get that episode till tomorrow, and I'm kind of just, I wanted that to be a surprise. Samurai Jack was one of the things that I had no knowledge about. I haven't watched any trailers, except for the Season 5 announcement trailer. I kind of just treated it like Star Wars Rebels, like how I don't want spoilers for it. I just kind of watched the trailers. So, I kind of got like random screenshots of this episode, and I did hear the scream before, but in context, that scream that Kenobi he lets off is never not going to be just an amazing moment that I'm surprised hasn't become a meme or something already, because it's iconically maddening. Like, it gives you a really good insight onto what Maul's thinking at the time, which props the crew and props to Sam Whitaker for that, being able to just scream like that. Like, just wow. Also on that note, no one calls him Obi-Wan in this episode. Thank you. In Star Wars Episode 4, he says he hasn't heard the name Obi-Wan for a long time. Everyone just calls him Kenobi or Master Kenobi. Oh, I'm just so thankful for that they're keeping this continuity. I'm so happy they handled this with care. They clearly had a passion for it. They clearly knew what they were doing. And just that simple way of just naming him right shows just how much attention to detail this show has. This is animation. It's not like when you're seeing live action where something like someone might do something accidentally and it just gets caught on film. No, here every movement is intentional. The way Maul reaches up for Obi-Wan's shoulder before lowering his arm, that's intentional. The simple shifts of an eye, the simple looks, the simple way like Ezra's just like crouched down on the ground, the way he tackles Chopper, all these movements are calculated and proper, and it just gives so much validation to this show that it makes me surprised not more Star Wars fans watch this. I wish more people from the Star Wars fandom watched this, because it is honestly not only one of the best Star Wars projects I've seen, but I think it's one of the best shows, if not the best show currently on television. And I know that's a highly debatable topic. I know that there's a lot of heavy contenders out there, but that's just my opinion. I do watch most of the other shows that are like really well received out there. It kind of depends for me if I'm going to put this in best of all time, if they manage to stick the landing of this third season. If they don't, I'm not sure what I'll do. I'll probably just like consider, like, there are a couple shows that I watch that I don't consider the best thing in the world, but I still enjoy heavily. But Star Wars Rebels, I feel like if it sticks the landing here, it might... I don't think it's ever going to make itself onto any list because it is an adaptational series, which kind of sucks. Like, I'd like to see this on list of best shows of all time. I know Star Wars The Clone Wars got onto IGN's best series of all time, so whether or not this actually surpasses Star Wars The Clone Wars is really up for debate now. Because at first it was clear, yes, Star Wars The Clone Wars is much better than this show. There was no doubt about that. Especially after it hit its stride. Star Wars Clone Wars for Season 1 and 2, iffy, especially in Season 1. Like, you get a few good episodes like Rookies, but it didn't really hit stride till Season 3 and onward. Like, the Mandalore arc is one of my favorite arcs in that entire series, if not one of my favorite arcs in television history. But at the same time, Star Wars Rebels has proven itself to be a heavy hitter now. It's capable of delivering equal storytelling, if not better, and it hit its stride a lot quicker. I think Rebels hit its stride in Season 2 rather than in Season 3, and I think they've just been building up from here. Depending on what Season 4 brings, and even if we get more seasons in the future, like, we don't know if Season 4 is the end. What if they just continue the series on in past and New Hope? Like, wouldn't it be cool if we saw them setting up the base on Hoth? Wouldn't it be cool if all these things happened? It's getting near the Clone Wars levels of good. And if it surpasses it, that kind of depends on the next few seasons. I think it's getting to the point where it's almost about equal with it, minus the fact that it's much shorter. Rebels has far less episodes, but whether or not it will surpass it, I'm kind of holding my breath and just watching very closely, because if it surpasses Clone Wars, it might surpass a couple of my other favorites. I'm not sure if I'd rank it up there with like Avatar: The Last Airbender, but that's to be seen, because it's been pulling some great scenes, some great things in it, and this episode just makes me feel like, it fills me with confidence. I feel like this series could really go the long run. I feel like it could become one of my favorite series of all time, if it's not already. This episode is just that good. And on with just some of the cool little nods they have in this episode. Rex thinks Obi-Wan's dead, and he says Bail Organa confirmed it. I'm not sure if he confirmed this for the galaxy or just confirmed it like when he was at the temple in episode 3. If that were the case, like, he went to the temple, he could have said, oh yeah, I saw Obi-Wan Kenobi die, and no one would have argued with him. The only people who would have known the truth would have been Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine, and maybe a select few others. But even then, like, I guess that's the public awareness, is that Organa said, yes, Kenobi is dead, and no one argued with him, especially not the Emperor, because you don't want anyone walking around with, hey, could Kenobi be alive? So even though they don't think Organa is telling the truth, which may tie into the fact they don't exactly trust him, like the way the Empire acts around Alderaan, and the fact that they choose it as a target, it's all making a bit too much sense now. Like, it's like the Emperor knows that Organa's in cahoots with this. But yeah, that's up for debate. I think that's honestly the case. We saw him in Rogue One, and I felt so bad in Rogue One when he said, I must go to my people on Alderaan. I was like, no, you're going to die. And yeah, he's dead. He's dead. There's no way he survived that. And that's... Bail Organa was one of my favorite characters in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Honestly, like, I'm not sure why I gravitated towards him. I don't think he's maybe in my top 5, maybe. My favorite of all time is Obi-Wan Kenobi, so that could explain why I love this episode so much. But I want to see more Bail Organa. I think he's gonna pop up in 0 Hour, maybe. Or we might just see other rebellion leaders. Oh, by the way, before I go on with anything else, you know what I think's going to get them out of 0 Hour? I think it's going to be X-Wings. I'm going to call that now. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think they haven't shown X-Wings yet. We've gotten Y-Wings, A-Wings, B-Wings, X-Wings are left, and for all we know, this was planned to be a series finale. So we're going to see, we're either going to see X-Wings now or next season. I'm excited for that, because they said it's going to be like seeing the fighters in Kingdom of the Sun, so it's going to be an amazing moment, and I trust they'll make it amazing, because X-Wings are just they're almost as iconic as the Millennium Falcon. Let's just put it that way. Like, yeah, our other ships are really cool, but it's no Millennium Falcon. We'll probably not see that until the Han Solo movie, which, by the way, I think because they set up Wookiees on Kessel in Spark of the Rebellion, I think that the Han Solo movie is going to be about making the Kessel Run, and he's going to pick up Chewbacca there, because Chewbacca will be a Wookiee slave on the planet. I honestly think that's what they're going for. I think that's why we set up Wookiees in there. I think they just decided to set it up there. If it's not about the Kessel Run, I have no idea what it's going to be about, but it makes a bit too much sense that they had Wookiees there. But anyway, back to this episode. One of my favorite scenes in this episode is actually right near the start. We get the whole, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi in the holocron, and it's all fizzed out, and it's kind of cool how you see a young Obi-Wan at the start and then an old Obi-Wan near the end. So there's a bit of clever use of images there. When Ezra steals the Starfighter, is just almost hysterically it's just hysterically built on what we know from this universe, what they've set up. Like AP5, he uses this character that we know, so when you just hear his name, he's not even in the episode, you just hear him off screen, you know that something, you know exactly what's happening. And I don't know what to say about this episode. This episode's so good. The way Maul sets him up, the way that everything goes through it again, how they go back to that's the last time we're working with Maul, from the episode where Sabine gets the Darksaber, to now he's working with Maul again without realizing it. And I need to go back to the duel, because the duel is the headline of this episode. The way Maul just shows up, the way everything just builds to so naturally to this episode. Like, this morning, I actually watched the Steven Universe episode, Room for Ruby, and I felt like it had quite a few problems with its pacing. I think I know why I suddenly have problems with the pacing in Steven Universe. The pacing in Star Wars Rebels is so friggin' good that it makes everything else feel bad. It's like being spoiled by Samurai Jack for action, or by something like Invader Zim for darkness and energy, or mystery in Gravity Falls. Like, after you see something do something so well, it's kind of takes away from other things. And everything should be taking a note from the way Star Wars Rebels just builds onto things. Because this episode has so little going on, but so much at the same time. It's very subtle. It's very much having it be simple makes it complex. The way that it's able to flesh out the emotions, the way it's able to flesh out the scenery. Just even at the beginning when he screams Kenobi, you see all these shots of just this bleak, lifeless desert. You get it in one shot. This entire desert is filled with nothing but death. Not even death. It's nothing. It's sand. It's annoying. It gets everywhere, and that's the reason why Darth Vader never found it. But this fight, I love the way how you can just see these two reading each other with just the shifts of their eyes, and that reminds me so much of the way Steven Universe does that. Like, I remember the episode Back to the Barn when you see Pearl is being insulted by Peridot, so she kind of like purses her lips and glares at Peridot, and Amethyst next to her, Amethyst looks at her, kind of gets a smirk on her face. Pearl's eyes dart towards her, and then Amethyst looks back at Peridot. It's very subtle, no dialogue, nothing like that happens. This reminded me of the way that Steven Universe is able to just take eye shifts between characters, and it can mean a world of character development or thought or anything. The way these two, like, the battles going on when they're looking at each other. That's how well done this is. The way their eyes move, it doesn't focus so much on the sabers as the way their eyes are glaring at one another. And then you get, Maul brings up the fact that, he brings up Luke. He brings up, you're protecting something. No, someone. And that's when it gets serious. It just all falls together so perfectly. Even if you hadn't seen episode 4, I'm pretty sure you would have gotten it. Especially considering the end when he's just like, he's calling out to his Aunt Beru is calling to Luke. Like, you get that's who he's protecting. And the way Maul says he will avenge us. Which, by the way, the only thing I found a bit weird at first was I thought Maul just died, but then I realized Kenobi, when he cut his lightsaber in half, he probably sliced Maul right through the chest. So he not only cut him horizontally, but he cut him vertically too. Which is just a phenomenal way to end all this. It's the way they used Qui-Gon's stance. There's so many references to Episode 1 here. There's so many just references to Clone Wars here. And the fact that Obi-Wan lets Maul die in his arms and gives him kind of a noble death. This is the guy who killed his love interest. This is the guy who killed Satine. And it feels so powerful. The emotions in the scene are so high. Like I said, I nearly cried in this episode a few times, both from joy and both from just absolute sadness, because it brings up all those memories. When you're watching this episode, you get reminded of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and my favorite arcs with Duchess Satine. She was one of my favorite characters too. Why did I like so many characters who were just non-force using non-fighters? I don't know, I guess I like political stuff if it's done correctly. I can't really just... I could go on all day about how phenomenally done this entire fight is. Twin Suns is probably my favorite episode of Star Wars Rebels. I don't know if I'd... that might just be me still in the hype mode. I'm not sure if it would overcome Siege of Lothal, because Siege of Lothal, I think, if you look at everything impartially, I think that is probably the best episode of Star Wars Rebels. Then you have Twilight of the Apprentice. There's something about the way Star Wars Rebels does season premieres and season finales. They're always great. Even the season 1 premiere and finale, those ones are great too. When Grand Moff's ship explodes, just the Grand Inquisitor, the way everything's handled. Oh, just this show. Why didn't I get into this sooner? Why didn't I discover this sooner? If you're out there and you're just watching this to know what happens, go watch the series. Go watch Spark of the Rebellion. Just... I'm so happy it gets the attention it deserves. Like, this is not an unpopular show. On Disney XD, it gets aired continuously. Like, it's almost always on. Not to the degree that Cartoon Network airs like Teen Titans Go or even Nickelodeon with SpongeBob. It's more like, I've seen days where it takes up maybe a good quarter of the schedule at most. Usually it sits around the 10% mark, but it gets constant play on Disney XD. So you know the show's popular. Usually, actually, it's kind of weird because they'll use it as a buffer between shows. So they'll, like, air an hour of Star, then they'll air an episode of Star Wars Rebels, then they'll air an hour of, like, Phineas and Ferb, and then it's, like, kind of like their buffer show, I guess, and it's apparently doing well. It's getting a fourth season, and I don't know what to expect about Season 4. Honestly, I don't know what I'm more excited for, the first teaser trailer for Episode 8, or if I'm more excited for the Star Wars Rebels teaser now. The only reason I'm saying that, I'm probably going to be... Like, I cried when I watched the Force Awakens final trailer, and the Force Awakens was amazing. But if you haven't watched the Star Wars Rebels trailers, like, even if you're at this point and you're like, oh, why would I watch an old trailer? Go watch them. I think they start at Season 2, the premiere, and then the mid-season trailer, then you get the... I don't know why, but they're so good at putting together trailers, and the trailer music is always fantastic. At Celebration, I don't know what I'm more excited for now. I've never felt this way before, because I remember when I was watching the Force Awakens trailer, there was a little clip from the Season 2 Rebels trailer, and that was kind of my first exposure to Rebels. I remember I hadn't, like, really looked into it, because I used to be a massive fan of Clone Wars, and when it was cancelled, I was just like, darn it. Actually, I went to university. I was like packing up for university when it got canceled, so I didn't really get much time to like really look at it, but I don't know what sucked me into it. Because I remember seeing that trailer and it would always end with just before they were getting sucked out of hyperspace, and I remember kind of laughing at the way Commander Sato would say, "Nope, that's and then we'd cut off, and like the way I used to always quote Lord Vader dispatch Inquisitors. I'd never seen the show. I actually can't remember what sucked me into this. I think it was a trailer. I think I saw a trailer somehow. But I don't remember it being recommended to me by anyone. I think I was watching reactions to The Force Awakens, and it was just kind of like a reaction to, I think it was the mid-season Season 2 trailer, and I saw Ahsoka, and I was kind of like baffled for a second. Like, I got spoiled for that, and I kind of wish I didn't, but hey, that spoiler sucked me into the show, and I got like shocked when like Thrawn walked out. I got shocked by, I didn't realize how much I liked Star Wars until I like started watching this. Like, I used to watch Star Wars Clone Wars all the time. I used to get really annoyed by Cad Bane because we used to get new episodes on our PVR, but would always film. I think it was the way it was set up. Some kind of error happened, so it would say we had a new episode of Star Wars Clone Wars, but it would always be a Cad Bane episode. So there was about a month where, no, I think it was the entire summer where it kept saying that, and we'd get all excited because we didn't know how airing schedules worked at the time. I think that was before we got into Gravity Falls. Like, me and my brothers got into Gravity Falls. About when it began, I remember watching episode 3 when it first premiered. Like, I remember seeing episode 2 before Tourist Trap. It was very much like that. Me and my brothers used to watch this all the time. We used to, like, always jokingly hate Cad Bane when in reality he's awesome. How could you dislike him? I never realized how big of a Star Wars fan I was until Rebels, and I never even realized how big of an influence this entire series had on me. Just the way they portray things, the way they act things out, and I couldn't wish for a better series as a Star Wars fan. I really can't. I can't think of any way I would rather have Star Wars Rebels go down. And I have probably been talking for a long time now. I'm just losing myself in this. I feel like a lot of other people feel the same way. I actually wanted to... The reason I started this all was a school project, but I wanted to keep going because I got a new Star Wars Rebels episode. Now I'm just listing off all my stuff. But you know what? I'm not going to keep you here any longer listening to me geek out, even if it might be fun. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.